Well, good morning, YouTube. This is Chuck. As you can tell, this morning I'm over at the museum, and I want to talk a little bit about our Ancient Peoples exhibit. My video I shot the other day out of Way Cool has been pretty popular, and I think that there's an interest in that. And so this is going to be the next one in that series. So let's swing around here, and I'll start talking about this. Our area, because of our climate, the mild climate, and the scenery and the food sources and stuff, has been popular with ancient people for centuries. And here at the museum, we've actually got a kind of a replica of one of the how the early structures would have been built. And as you can see, we've got a beautiful mural of what the background looks like, actually. And this was modeled after what we call Risser Ranch Ruin, which is a property that the Historical Society actually owns here in town. I'll take you up there one of these days. But one of the things we've got here is we've got actually got a matati and a mortar and pestle set up with corn. And if you notice down here, it's a little sign that says, "Please touch." Unlike a lot of museums where they don't want you to touch anything, we actually want you to be able to look at some of this stuff. And we've got stuff here that you can actually pick up and put your hands on. There's pottery, there's arrowhead flint, and quite a bit of other stuff. They made a lot of stuff out of bone, so there's an antler, and a lot of the stuff out of corn cobs. So you can see some of the stuff that came from some of the ruins. Now, from our ruin that we have, is this stuff here back behind me. In this case, that all came from the ruin that we own. And basically what it was in the middle of a subdivision, and somebody wanted to preserve part of it and not tear it up. So we actually, at one point, it got donated to the Historical Society. Of course, that's who runs the museum, and I'm a member of that. There's actually a little map up there of the ruins that's been excavated, and then here's an artist's conception of what it actually looked like when it was occupied. So, and then a couple of pictures up here. And like I say, I'll take you up there one of these times. But our area has been inhabited for centuries. The pre-Apache people, they were basically nomadic. They moved around based on the weather and the time of year and the game and this kind of thing. And they built these brush shelters. And so, you know, some of them didn't leave a whole lot of evidence behind of the fact that they were there. Later on, when they built the Salados and the Mugiones. They came in and they built the more impressive type ruins, the things that we still find today. One thing they all had in common is they all made pottery, and some of the pottery, this collection of pottery that we have here, it was actually donated to us by the local Tano Apache tribe. Some of the stuff is ancient stuff, and some of the stuff is replica, but it's an absolutely stunning collection. It's something that's as nice as you see most anywhere. For a history of our locals, we swing back around this way again. From a history of our local folks, and there's other exhibits here as well, but we have, this is a little bit hard to film with a phone because I can't get back far enough, but they're actually from 1871 when General George Crook was here. There's actually a timeline here going all the way across to the more modern times. And there's also some other stuff in the case down here about our ancient people. Now, our tribe was called the Tano Apaches. And they have a little bit different background than some of the other Apache tribes. And one of the things they did is they were pretty fierce warriors initially. And this area here was a pretty wild country up until about the 1870s. The last actual Indian uprising war here was actually in 1882, and I'll do a video about that. It's called the Battle of Big Dry Wash, and that was actually the Tano Apaches who had long been, domesticated, conquered, whatever you want to call it, by that time. But the early settlers had issues with the Indians, and that basically we came in there and took over their land, so naturally we're going to have issues with them. And so what happened is the cavalry came up here and they managed to corner them at a place down by Payson. And they pretty much massacred several generations of the Tano Apaches. And there wasn't a whole lot left of them. They didn't have any elders. And the ones that were remaining, they basically decided it'd be easier to work with us and work against us. And so their history is a little different than a lot of the tribes. So anyway, the Tano, by the way, actually means foolish in their language. So some of the other Apaches thought the Tontos were foolish for dealing with the white man, but the Tontos realized that they couldn't fight us, so they couldn't win. They said they might as well join us. But we've got quite an interesting exhibit about the early peoples here. We've also got exhibits about, of course, the early rodeo and some other stuff here, but we'll talk about that in a different video. So for right now, I'm going to let you go, and I'll tell you that, as I always do, be kind to each other, love each other. There's a very rich Native American history in our area here, and there's been people who lived here for a long time, and we'll try to tell you more about it from time to time. So for right now, love each other, take care of each other. It's a wonderful life, and I'll talk to you again real soon.